This week's quick reminder comes from Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 and 27. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. The image of God is our created purpose, the very reason for our existence. But we know that man falls from this in Genesis chapter 3. So how can we now live out our purpose? How can we live out the image of God? In 1909, the American explorer Robert Peary reached the North Pole. It was documented and accepted that he was the first to accomplish this. But fellow American Frederick Cook spent years trying to prove that he had reached the pole first. Well, after the evidence was studied, it was obvious that Cook had not even reached the North Pole, let alone arrived there first. And although Peary's success had been proven, Cook continued trying to convince others that he had achieved what only Peary had done. You see, what was needed from Cook was not another futile attempt to accomplish what had already been fulfilled, but rather a recognition and acceptance of the successful finished work of Peary. So you see, no matter how sincere our heart and our effort may be, God's image is not something for you and me to try to accomplish in the futility of our insufficient flesh. Just trying to achieve what God's already fulfilled in Christ. So, to better understand what it means to be in the image of God, or to live out the image of God at creation, and also how it's possible for us to live out this truth today, I believe we need to look at man's reconciliation as found in Christ. And so to do so, I want us to look at a couple of passages in the New Testament. How does the New Testament explain the image of God? Well, in Colossians chapter 3, verses 10 and 11, we read this: "And have put on the new self, who is being renewed to a true knowledge according to the image of the one who created him. A renewal in which there is no distinction between Greek and Jew, circumcised, uncircumcised, barbarian, Scythian, slave, and free man, but Christ is all and in all." There's some different words and phrases I want to look at in this passage. In verse 10 there of Colossians 3, we see the words renewed, knowledge, image of the one who created. So we see here that the image of God is found in this knowledge that we are to know. And it is something that has been renewed to us. That word renew is a really neat word. It means to cause something to become new, to become something different than what it was. And it in particular, it means to becoming superior to what there was. It means not only to make new, but to renew. And so with that, I thought that was interesting, just thinking through that. It means both to make new and to renew. When my family had left His Hill in 2014, and we were in Louisiana for 6 years, helping take care of my parents whose health was not good. We one of the things that we did to make an income was that my brother and my son-in-law and I would flip houses together. And it was one of the funnest things I've ever done. In the flipping, what we would do, we would buy a house that was in horrible shape. They were, they had been abandoned, burned. They had been, for various reasons, whatever, they were abandoned and they were just trashed. And so we would come into these homes and fix them up. We would renovate them with the idea of renewing them back to a new state or what they had originally been. So when we were finished with them, they were put back into that state that they were in when they were brand new. They were made new again. They were renewed. And so that's the idea here in this passage. They have been renewed to true knowledge according to the image of God. That knowledge of the image of the one who created him. Verse 10. How? Well, verse 11, it is found in Christ. Christ is all and in all. So this knowledge that the believer is to know is found in Christ. This knowledge of the image of God. Then, let's go to Ephesians chapter 4, verses 23 and 24. We read here, and that you be renewed. It's the same word as what we saw in Colossians 3. To renew, to make new. So again, and that you may be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and put on the new self, which is in the likeness of God. So again, the image of God, renewed to this in the image of God. How so? Has been created in righteousness and holiness of the truth. So here we see that the image of God is realized in his righteousness. How? How do we live righteous? Well, in this context, you back up a couple of verses. In verse 21, it says, if indeed you have heard him and have been taught in him, just as truth is in Jesus. So again, this righteousness that is the image of God is found in Christ. God's likeness, verse 24, found in the truth which is in Jesus, verse 21. Okay, and staying in this passage, another observation of how the image of God is seen in the believer. And there, it's found there in verse 24. We've seen the righteousness, and then it goes on, righteousness and holiness of the truth. Okay, so far what we have seen is that God's image is realized, is seen, is known in the believer by his knowledge, his righteousness, and now his holiness. How? Again, just like we saw with the righteousness of God, now we see with the holiness of God, same passage. How is this possible? It is found in the truth of Jesus. God's holiness, verse 24, found in the truth which is in Jesus, verse 21, in which is his holiness. Well, we look at this and it's got to be encouraging to see God's image in the believer by his knowledge, his righteousness, his holiness. This is his image in the believer. His knowledge, his righteousness, his holiness. How? All found in Christ. This, his image, we have been restored to in Christ. Colossians 1:21 says, and although you were formerly alienated and hostile in mind, engaged in evil deeds, yet he has now reconciled you. So he has reestablished you to proper relationship, to your purpose, to your created purpose. And that word reconciled, yet he has reconciled you, it means to be reestablished after having been disrupted or broken, according to Laonita. And so we have been broken, but now we have been reconciled. Yet he has now reconciled you how? In his fleshly body through death, in order to present you before him holy and blameless and beyond reproach. So how has this reconciliation come to take place? It is through Christ and what he has done on our behalf. What has God renewed? What has he reconciled the believer to? His image, his knowledge, his righteousness, his holiness, his truth, him. He has reconciled the believer to him as found in Christ. He has reconciled the believer to his image as found in Christ. God's image, your created purpose, is once again a reality for you and for me, not in us trying to accomplish it in our fallen flesh, but by faith being found in what God has brought about in the accomplishment of Christ's death and resurrection. And that is his knowledge, his righteousness, his holiness, his truth, his image in Christ. Are you living out by faith in Christ? Are you living out the image of God? My name is Kelly Daugherty, and I'm the host of the His Hill podcast. Thanks for listening to this quick reminder. Our longer episodes are dropped every Thursday morning, so be sure to listen in this week because I'll be sitting down with our guest lecturer, Brian Byer, who is he's just going to share with us how he came to know Christ and the lessons that the Lord has taught him over his 70 years. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can do so by email. And that address is Kelly, Kelly, @hishill.org. Thanks for listening. And remember, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus.